Reddit, what single act of seduction got you thinking, wow, that worked? Story 1. I'd been on a date with this girl once or twice, and then we went swimming. Afterward, we returned to my apartment, my dad's. I was still in high school, and I wanted to eliminate the smell of chlorine. So I told her, I'm gonna shower, feel free to join me, in that half joking tone, thinking it would never work. 2 minutes into it, she hops in there with me, and that's the story of how I lost my virginity. Story 2. I was a senior in high school going out with a girl. I had off. She had half a day, and I picked her up from school. We were heading toward my house, and she said she was sweaty from gym class. How about we go to my house, put the air on, and take a shower? She smiled at the subtly placed we. She asked if I was serious, and I said yes, unless she didn't want to. I didn't get laid, but she gave me an HJ in the shower, and I ate her out afterward. Story 3. I was at a loud party, trying to chat with a beautiful girl I had met once or twice. I got frustrated at not being able to hear, and I leaned close to her and said, would you like to discuss this someplace quieter? She gave me this look, and 20 seconds later, we were in her room making out. She was hosting the party, and after that point, she didn't do an excellent job hosting. Story 4. I was at a bar having a little birthday party for myself, and my super crush showed up. I'm 3 sheets at this point, and we started talking. Then, out of nowhere, the honesty train comes barreling down the tracks, and I say to her, I'm super drunk, and I'm probably going to start throwing up in a few minutes. So if you want to make out, we gotta do it now. So she says, okay. So we made out, and I threw up faithful to my word much later than I thought. Not on her, though, just for clarification. Story 5. My friend was talking to this girl who said she was an aspiring actress. So he said, let's do a scene. She agreed. So they pretended to be a couple at a dinner fighting, ending in a furious makeout session. Probably the most masterful and committed pickup attempt I've ever seen. Story 6. I had gone on my first date with a great girl, and come Saturday night, we had both been working on a project with a bunch of other people. It was super cold, so I gave her a ride back to her dorm. But she'd forgotten her keys, and it was late. She was worrying about where she'd sleep that night, and I said, I've got a bed. So she agreed, and we spent that night in my twin bed, cuddling and talking and dry humping until about 3:30. 9 months later, we couldn't be happier. No, she's not pregnant. Story 7. I was in high school at the time, at a party in January. My parents were out of town, so I didn't care about not going home that night, and I forgot where the fuck I had my keys. After talking with a pretty cute guy who lived in the house where this took place for a while and mentioning that I didn't plan on going home, he jokingly said he had a bed. Shared a bed with him that night. They interacted late into the night. No regrets. Story 8. I got a girl's number, and the first time I called her to try to get her to come out for drinks, she told me she had to pick up her friend at the airport early the next day. I said, I live way closer to the airport than you, and I have an alarm clock. So we were fucking like 2 hours later. Looking back, I still can't believe that worked. Story 9. One time, I was at a club, had a few drinks, and just started dancing with this girl for a few songs. The booze flowing through us, we made out on the dance floor a little bit, and eventually, as the night was coming to a close, bars close at 3 a.m., state law, I got brave and asked, so do you have a place to stay for the night? She thought about it for a second and said, no. Story 10. I went to a house party with some friends. One girl was there who I thought was gorgeous. Puerto Rican, has nice skin, curly hair, and a great butt. I told my friend who lived there that I thought her friend was cute. I keep seeing gorgeous PR girls around the party. We make slight eye contact and she brushes past me a few times. However, I have yet to say anything to her. This goes on for about 2 hours. Fast forward, and a few of us go outside to smoke drink. We're chilling on the back porch, no lights on, and the girl's just standing next to me. I put my arm around her waist and pulled her towards me little by little. Eventually, the group disbands and everyone goes back inside except us. We stand there for a little while, and I caress her body with my hands. This turns into making out, and the next thing I know, she starts zipping my pants down. And that's how I got a blowjob without uttering a single word. I surprised myself that day. Story 11. I came home to see my weed dealer roommate smoking pot with a hot woman. She was an escort buying weed from him. I opened a bottle of wine, and after a bit, she told me everything she would do for me if I paid her. I told her she could get all the sex she wanted for free. She stayed with me that night and became my girlfriend for about 4 months. I had to end it because she was batshit crazy, but it was fun. It's worth mentioning that I was a broke-ass 30 who used a wheelchair a year old. Story 12. I met two girls in a hostel in New Zealand and went out drinking together. I got a little tipsy and told them I was terrible in bed, even going as far as to tell them a few amazing stories for verification, to tears of laughter. They both went to the bathroom and drew straws or something because only one came back and she grabbed me straight away and kissed me. A few shenanigans later, we were back in her room. An exciting night. Story 13. I was at my 5-year-old college reunion this weekend, and an acquaintance, whose name I didn't know, was eye fucking me repeatedly while we were both on the dance floor. But since she never came over to me, nothing happened. There's a life lesson, but I didn't learn it. Story 14. I met this girl after high school, and she told me she had a great head. I tell her that her head game is probably whack, and she exaggerates. She instantly gets mad, whips my dick out, and starts giving me the best head I ever had. I think I came in less than 2 minutes. Story 15. I brought a girl back to my dorm to watch a movie. I knew I wanted to move, but I had no idea how to move smoothly. So, like a true rock star, I just put my arm around her as we sat on the futon. Eventually, she nervously mentioned that she wasn't looking for a boyfriend or anything. That followed with me being like, well, that's okay. I just, was wondering if you'd want to fool around or something. While gesticulating like an idiot, she was down with it, and I got a BJ. Story 16. In high school, my friend and I went on a double date. He was dating a girl. She had a friend, so she brought me along. So, kind of a blind date at the movies. Once we got in, we were all laughing and cutting up, waiting for the movie to start, and the girl I was with tried saying something to the other girl and got no reply. So we look over, and they make out with each other. She then looks back at me and says, well, damn, now what do we do? It almost felt like an invitation to kiss her, so I grabbed her face, planted one right on her mouth, and said, how about this? So we made out the whole movie and dated for a few months after that. Story 17. I was flirting with some old married lady at the bar. She went to the bathroom, and her friend said I should follow her. So I did, thinking it would be funny. Instead, she ripped my pants off and started blowing me. She was married, and we were in a filthy bathroom with a girl peeing next to us. I'm not very sexually competent because I only got to half-mast before I felt nasty, gross, and left. I got drunker and put it in her ass later that night. I felt so gross. Story 18. About 4 years ago, I met and kept running into this girl that was way out of my league. It took a few months of run-ins before I asked her for her number. I was a lifeguard, and she was wary of the reputation. I told her she was right, as our town had only 5 dateable lifeguards. So I named 4 of my tamest, most respectable friends and myself last because, of course. I told her I was dead last, barely on the list, but I'm on the list. Such a stupid line when I think about it. We got married last May. Story 19. I once asked the girl I met that night if she wanted to go bang in the pipes behind the pool hall, a giant maze of construction pipes. It didn't work that night, but apparently, I gave her my number, and she ended up calling me a week later, and we had a good time for a couple of years. This question came up after making out with one of the 2 girls she came with, and then making fun of the other until she had to be physically restrained from attacking me in the parking lot. Story 20. I met a girl at a bar one night. We chatted for a bit, and at the end of the conversation, she left me her number and invited me to parties. I arrived in the 50s to find at least 3 other guys looking to hook up with her. We continued our conversation from earlier, whereas the other suitors, not so discreetly, made their intentions clear and failed. After that, people started funneling out as things began to die, and we made our way to her bedroom. Out of nowhere, I tell her, my back and shoulders feel tense. Can you give me a massage? To which she hops on my back. After 5 seconds, I turn over and start making out with her, and things escalate further.